particle prayer making. Right at the edge of myself, the place where I end and you begin, right there in between the particles that we are, there is another place. A place between places, a space between spaces where spirit and matter meet, and where the miracles live within our reach if we agree to reach. What are the thoughts that you haven't thought yet? The ideas within our consciousness that although we have access, we don't quite know how to get into that field. There's so much light over there. So much light becomes available, and we can see into the places we could not see into moments before. This field of possibility is where the angels extend their wings and where stardust lingers, and we have a sense it is here, right now, the divine intersecting with the human. We are, you are, and the beloved is. The divine intersecting with the human. We are, you are, and the beloved is. I will meet you there, because there is actually no place that I would rather be than beside you, particle prayer making in the space between spaces. But when we go back out there to our daily chores after visiting the mystical realm, and we are renewed, our faces will sparkle with heaven, and our family will wonder where we've been. Even though we didn't even seem to leave the kitchen, the salty dough is still being kneaded in our capable hands. This is for Sue Hoya, particle prayer making from Tea with the Midnight Muse.
I love that. Welcome, beautiful ladies. Welcome to the Woman Unleashed online retreat, and welcome to the crossroads of particle expansion possibility, right? Welcome to all that. My name is Amber Quila Melanie Benici. I am your host, and I am excited to welcome you for a session of art making and so much more making, because like Shiloh said, when you leave this space, who knows who you will be after this session?
We don't know.
Who knows? So for today's session, materials list to make sure that you're all ready to roll with us, okay? So grab some watercolor paper. Shiloh's working 22 by 30 inch, 140 pound. I've got this little piece right here. So whatever size you got is perfect. We've got watercolors or acrylic paint, Sharpies, several colors. Twin tip is great. Spray bottle, hole punch, red thread, and scissors, candle, regular paper, and pens. We also have glitter and chocolate. I was telling Shiloh I don't have chocolate, but what I do have is this giant thing of peanut butter, which is going to have to work today. So that's what I got.
I've got coconut dark chocolate.
Hey, that's a good kind right there. I love that kind.
Chocolate for the muses.
Chocolate for the muses. So let's go ahead. We'll take a couple breaths and then dive in. I'm going to introduce you to Shiloh, but let's get present first so that we can really be here to receive, for you to receive what you are waiting for, what you're wanting, what you're needing in this moment. Yeah. So if you just close your eyes with me, and anything that's been going on from before the session, anything that's on your mind, let's inhale in and exhale and release. Noticing anything that's to come that you're worried about or thinking about, you're feeling any nerves about, let's just inhale in, come back to this moment. Exhale and release. And our third and final breath, smelling this moment together. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. So I get to introduce to you the beloved Shiloh Sophia, poetess, who started us off today. Shiloh is like a She's like a foundation for me. She's one of my very first mentors, my very first teachers. We have her like every single one. There was one we didn't have her, and I was just like, it was awful, but didn't get to have her. But I wanted to share a little bit about her so you get to know her more than just my love for her, but you get to know a bit about her, right? So she is a Renaissance woman. She communicates her philosophy, falafels and philosophy. So she does this through her painting, through her poetry, which you saw, her teachings, and also entrepreneurship. She has been studying for over 25 years and has really dedicated her soul work to really using the practice of creativity as a path of healing, which provides access to consciousness in a different way. She was a curator. She had an art gallery. She's represented her own work as well as hundreds of other women artists. And by the age of 40, she was super amazing, successful. She was one of the top 10 percent of sales for contemporary artists in the United States. Pretty amazing. So she's super prolific in her art making. She has this beautiful intuitive painting process, and through her own process, she really just had this desire to start teaching other people, right? And that's been the foundation of her work on intentional creativity. And so I am one of her certified Color of Women teachers. I teach using intentional creativity. That's part of the reason we're doing journal making. This is such a huge part of my life, and it's how I teach a lot of my work to my clients. But I am very excited to come from the lineage of our beloved Shiloh Sophia. So Shiloh, welcome.
Thank you for that beautiful welcome. And I feel honored always to be in your circle, Amber, and to be with all of you. So thank you, dear ones, for taking the time to have this really sacred space together. I think the world is swirling so quickly, and to really pause in a retreat space and allow yourself to enter into a new domain that wasn't available even a couple minutes ago. So I've lit us a candle, just holding space for really thousands and thousands of us who are working with creativity and transformation and self-compassion to create the world that we want to see, and we start that within ourselves. So this candle is lit for you.
I've got here my chalice well water. It has a little bit of toothpaste in it as well. My son decided to make my chalice well water into a mouthwash, but I still bless myself with it. I'm just chalice well minty fresh.
That is amazing. I have chalice well water too. That's amazing. Fresh. Wonderful. Oh my gosh. Well, I'm excited about what we are going to offer today. And it's amazing because Amber speaks with every one of the teachers in advance about what they're going to offer. And I usually have this really exciting idea, and then I read the title and I'm like, what was that again? And it's called Beyond the Veil, Our Time Together Today. And so I was like, wow, there's so many things I could teach on behind the veil, or what's beyond the veil. And so we're going to really spend our time doing an exploration of kind of peeking up and beyond, kind of moving to the side of the space between like what we normally see and know and what we now can see and know. So that's the theme.
It feels like it's like
you feel it already? Awesome. Well, is there anything else we need to do, Amber? Should we just dive in?
I think we're doing some red thread because
this
is like essential for
there you go
circles, right?
Red thread. Awesome. Red thread is a sign of connection. In many major spiritual traditions in the world, it's a sign of connection to something which has yet to happen yet, or someone that you have yet to meet yet, which I love that idea that there's some sense of destiny to it. It's also a sense of protection. So I invite all of you who are participating in the Women Unleashed experience to imagine that the red thread one ball is going one way from my hand, the other ball is going the other way from Amber's hand. And let's just pretend and imagine it's like a weave, and we're creating this woven space into which all of us are gathered and all of us are a part of it. So just include yourself. Just really choose to include yourself in the space of the circle. And to step out of being separate. You still get to have your sovereignty and your uniqueness, but there's a sense that right now, for this time, we're together. One of the wonderful teachings about the red thread is that everyone is responsible for their piece. It's sort of like in the Hawaiian tradition, the kuleana, the sacred responsibility. You aren't responsible for holding the entire weave. We're holding it together, but you are responsible for the piece that's in your hands.
So I'm passing it.
And so in a red thread, we often share. So I invite you just to speak out loud or to journal or share in the group, whatever makes sense for you, to pretend like it's your turn to speak. And our process today is about seeing what we're not seeing. And so I'd love for you to share a sentence that goes something like, what I know I see is, and what I don't know about is. And that's the sharing, because that's in the mystery. What I know I see is, and what I don't know about or see or have access to is, and just see what comes out of your mouth. And I'll give a demo. What I know I see is a need for women to gather in stronger and stronger circles and create resiliency. What I don't know is what the spiritual structure that's going to be required for that is still in the mystery for me. So what's interesting about that simple of a share is that it's something that I haven't said that way before, and it helps me understand what I don't know and where my growing edge is, right? So how about you, Amber? What did you receive?
Okay. So what I know I see, yeah, is that one? What I know I see is by not creating and following our calling, women are feeling depressed and lonely and separate.
Mm-hmm.
And what I don't know about what I see about that what is I feel like there's ways that I think that I can do it, but there's like, I know, well, I guess this is something I know, but I don't know.
See? It's kind of a little bit of a riddle.
It's like, I know I need to connect more to spirit for that. But so I don't know how it's going to show up. Like, I don't know.
Right. With the form.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the form, exactly.
Yeah. And so the exercise actually forces you to think about what you don't know, which makes you know it, kind of. And then there's this other piece of really acknowledging what is yet to be revealed. And what's so awesome about that is that when you do that, your brain expands into the future, into the possible future. So most of the time when we're in conversation and making choice in all of our relationships, we are referencing information that we already know as a memory filing system. So we go to the hard drive, so to speak, to get the information and bring it forward. And we often shape the future that we're creating based on the tragedies, the fears, the heartbreak. The brain wants to protect, right? Because it's part of survival. But then we keep creating the same kind of situations over and over because we're actually choosing out of fear instead of possibility. Now, there's real fear, like bodily harm, like there's real fear. I'm talking about the other kind of fear, of the fear, for example, of getting hurt. I mean, if we fear all the time that we're going to get hurt, and so then we choose safe relationships, then we're not going to be necessarily passionate and fulfilled. And so we're constantly creating out of fear, when the wisdom in that actually is that we all are going to get our heart broken. And so there's something about accepting that, right, that allows us to be in wisdom and say, I don't care what's going to happen. Take me. I'm all in. Let's go, whatever happens, right? That's the wisdom that comes after. But if you don't make that request of your brain, literally like, mind, bring me to the place I haven't been before about this, it won't, which is interesting for most people. And so part of the work of the lineage of intentional creativity, painting is the medium, but really we're about consciousness and about your unique self-expression. So thank you for sharing this red thread with us. And as we continue to dive into the creative process, I invite you to stay connected to the weave.
Yes. Weave on, sisters.
Weave on.
Into what you don't know and what we do know.
Yeah.
Behind the veil. I love it.
And isn't that amazing that it's that complicated and that simple to ask ourselves questions that we don't know in order to get access to information that might be right there for us. It may be right in the subconscious. It may be just like, I get the feeling sometimes like it's just like right here. And I ask myself, how can I get to it? And so our process today, Beyond the Veil, is that sense of being able to make a decision, a choice to see into the places that we're not ordinarily seeing. And I am sure not everyone has watercolor paper, so you are welcome to follow along with pen and do the best that you can. And then if you want to come back and do this again, I think it's something that we can kind of do over and over. So, yeah. Okay. I'm going to put on my painting coat.
Ooh, I want to put on a cave painting coat too. She said she was going to put on her painting coat. I'm like, I need to have my painting coat. This was actually, I don't even know where this came from. This is like, my kids use it when we bake cookies, but it's happened to be here in my studio. So I was like, I'm going to use that one today. Mm-hmm.
This is my painting smock, and it has this button right here that says, yes, this is my real job.
I remember it was a while ago, 2 retreats ago, when I had my live retreat in Hawaii. I'm sitting here and people were sharing in circle. I was like, oh my gosh, I get paid for this. This is crazy.
Right? Isn't it amazing?
Like that, they come every once in a while where I'm like, ah.
Just to get that, right? Amazing. So we're going to connect with our muse in this. And how we think about the muse in intentional creativity is not as an entity separate from yourself, but is just a way of talking about the voice in a little bit more of a sexy way instead of calling it the voice, right? But the chatter that we hear, whether that chatter is like, don't go over there, do go over there, like those people don't like you. How about this? You're not enough. Oh, if you do that, that voice that feeds you negative and positive dialogue is going to run amok all our life until we consciously choose to engage with it. And creativity is one of the ways that we engage with it. So in the simplest form, we connect with our consciousness through just calling it the muse, because it brings this playful aspect. So we're going to work a little bit with bringing a female form, a simple muse into the piece. So are we ready to dive in?
I love female forms. They're my favorite.
Awesome. Well, I love you. I love working with you, Amber. I love your joyful presence, and just super grateful that all of you have said yes to being in a space of a woman unleashed. And we certainly need a lot of that. And behind this playfulness is this sense of wanting freedom for us, of wanting us not to be in default settings, of wanting us not to just be caught up in the rules, the patterns of system and government and parents and beliefs and the way things are supposed to be done. We're so compartmentalized. And until we make a decision that we're going to set ourselves free, unleash ourselves, so to speak, like unleash that rhinestone collar and throw it in the fireplace. Until we do that, then we remain entrained to pre-existing thoughts and patterns. But it isn't that easy, because the reason why it isn't easy, I'll tell you, you don't have to spend a lifetime figuring it out like I did, is because in every area that we have a relationship, there is systems, patterns, beliefs, entrainment, and layers. So my relationship to people I don't know, I have a belief about that. My relationship to the divine, I have a belief about that. My relationship to money, my relationship to my lover, my relationship to my body. Every relationship, which is basically anything outside of me that I'm connecting to, is a relationship. All of those relationships have been informed by past experiences that I formed a belief around, or in some cases that were sort of fed to you, like, grow up, do well, get good grades, go to college, get married, have kids, work until you're 55, plan on retirement, and then go to, Hawaii or whatever. Just that alone is bought into in the United States to such a degree that it's hard to get out of it, right? And it's connected to all these relationships. And so, or experiences of heaven and hell. Think of John Lennon saying, imagine there's no heaven or there's no hell. Like, where would we be living inside of ourselves if we weren't relating to some eventual punishment or reward? Punishment, reward, cause and effect. If this, then that. The normal workday, 9 to 5, 12 months, like all these things are here to, we think, support us. And there is structure that is supportive there, but we look for comfort and security there, and it actually isn't there. And that's the illusion, and that's the letdown that can sometimes result in sort of midlife crisis. Like, how did I get here? Like the Talking Heads is like, how did I get here? I find myself behind the wheel of a large automobile. Is this my house? Like, what? And so there's this invitation to not be like, what anymore? And to co-create. So we're going to begin with writing a letter to the unknown. May or may not have ever done that before. So, and anything that I'm doing, you can modify for yourself. So consider this steps and a process. You make it your own. Dear Great Mystery, a letter to the unknown, however you want. And the only thing I'm going to ask you to do is not to lift your pen and just keep going down the page and write as big as you want. So I'll give a demo. You've probably tried this before, and it's kind of difficult, actually. Doesn't matter if anyone can read it. And you just go, and the speed at which you're going and the shape of the letters and the curving around just takes you into a place where you're like, hey, wait a minute, where am I? Oh, wait, this is hard. Oh, I just did it. Oh, that felt good. So you kind of just sort of destabilize yourself a little bit. So let's go ahead and do that now. And you don't know what you're going to write. Just start it. Sharpie ran out.
I'm having trouble going back and forth across the page. My brain's going, ah!
Right?
No.
Right. What's going to happen if you break free?
Unleash the writing within.
So just doing that, if you ever need to get kind of unhooked from some place that you're kind of jacked up a little bit, unhook from your jacked upness here at Woman Unleashed. All right.
I keep catching myself accidentally dotting my I's. I'm like, no, stop that.
Right. Well, it's interesting that it is like that, and that we keep, again, so the exercise is just to sort of get you off your normal track and into an unexpected place. All right. So once again, I want to say that I'm going to be providing some guidelines for you, but you make this process completely your own. You don't have to do what I'm doing. You just do what you are doing. And so don't worry about it if you decide you want to do something different. Mine is a template, okay? Anything else you want to say about that, Amber, about do what I'm doing if you want, or do your own thing if you want?
Yeah. So, it's so interesting. I think that especially with creativity, there's this thing of like, we want to be told many times, sometimes what to do, right? Like, just tell me what to do, right? This is just an invitation, and I'm very brave, like, not like life isn't going to end, right? Like, this is a great testing ground for you just to like dive off and do things your way. When I took my NIA black belt, so I'm a NIA trainer, and you can tell people that are black belts because they do not do what the teacher does, right? They've like let go of it needing to be a certain way. So I'm inviting you into the space of whatever feels good. If you want to do a totally different color, go with it. And if you happen to be someone who always follows the directions, like what, I'm going to invite you just to like purposely like maybe not.
Yeah. Awesome. So, that whole saying, out of the box? Let's get out of the box. So before we get out of the box, we're actually going to create the box. And so what I'm inviting you to do is leave an opening at the top of your box. So there's an out. And you can take up as much space as you want, but leave a pretty good opening kind of in the middle there. And then go ahead and take your brush and get some water on it. You can also use a spray bottle. And what we're doing is we are really taking a look at the box. Now, as in the concept of Women Unleashed, I remember asking Amber when she first was naming it, did she really want to call it Woman Unleashed? Because that meant there was an assumption that women were leashed, right? And it was like about calling to the women who felt leashed and then helping them unleash. And so in order to unleash, guess what? You got to know there is a leash. In order to get out of the box, you got to know that there's a box. There's a wonderful cartoon of two fish. And don't fill out the top yet, just the sides here, unless you've already done that. A wonderful cartoon of two fish. They're jumping up out of the water. And one fish says to the other fish, look down, look quick. That's the stuff I've been telling you about. The water. The water you swim in. So we're just leaving this top empty, right? Because we don't know what's going to happen, and we want to leave an opening. And you can use any color. This is the world outside the box. Okay. All right. Now we're going to put in our muse. And if you haven't drawn a face with me before, this will be fun. We're going to bring in this muse who's going to be setting herself free. So I'm going to just alter my color just a little bit. And we're going to do this step by step. And many of you have done this either with Amber or myself before. So it's always an exercise. This muse is representing putting you into the picture. And for the moment, you're going to be partially in the box. So go ahead and watch me, and then you can work on it after. So here's her head. Neck, She's in the box. I'm going to go ahead and put one eye closed, looking inward, and one eye open, looking out. An eyebrow, the line coming down for the nose. Very simplified face. Little curve for the nose. And I'm going to put her mouth like open, like, oh. And then I'm going to create another eyebrow over here. Okay, so now we have the muse representing you just outside of the framework of the box. She's poking out. All right. And then what we're going to do is we're going to represent her consciousness, her thought process expanding outside of the framework, the defined, the pre-existing container. So the first thing we're going to work with is the right side of her brain. And the right side is generally in connection with seeing the whole, like the whole picture. And the left side is often the parts. And one of the things that happens with our preconditioned thinking is, for whatever reason, we drop into the parts first. And when we have this amazing idea and we drop into these compartments, these categories, these existing boxes, then the idea or the way that we're working is totally influenced and actually deconstructed or parsed out in such a way that you can't see the original whole. And in fact, it doesn't often make sense unless you're going to make something really linear, where you're going to take the whole, break it apart, and then rebuild it. It doesn't always work like that. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just think of a person living and a person not living. The person who's living is whole and has their spirit. And when they're not living, their body may still be there, but their spirit is gone. There's been a separation. And then that process just continues on. You can't just necessarily put it back together. So we do this. We bring beautiful, whole, vital, being-filled ideas in through our awareness, and then we break it into pieces and we can't find it again as whole. If you were to bring an idea first into your right brain, just simply through saying, hey, I would love for this idea first to come into wholeness. I would like to nurture this wholeness. I would like to spend time in the flow state before I bring it over and put it into the compartments. So on the flow side, I'm going to put a flower, and you can put whatever you want. What does it represent to have this expansive flow beyond the veil? She's peeking up out of the framework of the box. And just play for a little bit here. Just play. Bringing fluidity. You can have spirals, circles. I need another color. Switch the size of your brush if you want to create a little more detail. Just play. And as you're playing, adding color, there's this sense of expansion.
So I'm going to go ahead, just Shiloh, and show them a little bit of what I'm working on.
Yes,
so,
perfect.
Permission. So, you know, I'm working watercolor. Shiloh's working acrylic today. This is my lady at the moment, and she's in a C right now. So this is what I got as far as, tuning in, was to be listening to like the ocean waves. To me, felt really flowy. So I'm just doing wave after wave here. Get a little bit closer here. Wave after
Beautiful.
wave. She's my blue. She's very mermaid colors, Shiloh. Mermaid.
I see that.
Hi, friend. Come swim with me.
Perfect. So while you're just playing and decorating, I invite you to think about something that you've been struggling with. A decision, a choice. What's something that's just been kind of getting to you and you're having a hard time feeling clarity around it? Like if you just knew what the truth was, you would do it. And as you ask the question, just keep painting or drawing and just ask. And begin to slowly expand into part of the outer world. I switched to colors. I added some white to do that so it could be seen. So she's spilling beyond the confines. And maybe there's some design or something else that wants to come in. Just trust that. Some moons appeared on mine. Spend a little detail. And obviously, we're going a little bit quicker than this, but you can spend as long as you need to, adding more detail and adorning. Do you think you can find me some glitter? I reset my art studio recently, and I don't have all my usual bag of tricks.
We must have glitter.
Okay. So one of the ways we're not getting into that much technique here, but one of the ways that we work is to continue to change colors and then also to get smaller and smaller brushes and design. And you should do, if you're going to add glitter, you're going to do it flat, not like this, right? But basically, I'm just doing the demo there, pouring it on wherever it's wet, the glitter is going to stick. But generally with glitter, you would just be doing that at the very, very end. And just bringing this detail. Smaller and smaller brush, more and more detail, as I'm asking myself that question that I couldn't get insight into. I think sometimes when we have unclarity about something, it's like time to do a creative process and really just ask for insight. Were you asking a question, Amber?
Yeah, so I've been, I'm considering adjusting some of the direction of my business.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm not going to go into it too much here.
Yep.
But I've been thinking about that. And so, yes, that's like kind of the thing is that that's what's been kind of on my mind lately.
And did you receive any information about it?
I'm getting more clarity around like supporting other people in a new way. I'm thinking what it has to do with is my team, like something about helping other people towards what they're working on helps towards what I'm working on. It's like, yeah,
awesome.
kind of what I do, but like there's just something there like
Mm-hmm.
some different information's coming through.
It's funny because I was making the shapes, painting, thinking about you, doing what I'm doing, and I asked a question about a project, and I've asked over and over and over and over.
Mm-hmm.
And the insight was, if you keep having to ask the question over and over, there must be something to it. Why don't you just get on with it? Right?
I love that.
So, while you're just doing this, not mindlessness, but you're just playing, then things begin to emerge. And from a detail perspective, I've got a little bit of a lighter color on my brush, and I'm going to bring some of this into the side. And just simply by working on and saying that I'm working on this side, I'm activating that sense of wholeness, that sense of seeing the big picture. And then for a while, you can play here for a while. When you're ready to ask the question, how is this possible? Or what would this mean if I were to follow through with this? Or if you got a yes, you only want to go into structure once you've gotten some insight. But most of the time, we let the structure prevent us. So we're seeing beyond the veil. You can see the framework here. And so as I'm pausing, I'm going to be crossing over to this other side into the left brain. But first, I'm going to just be with this information. And I'm going to be coloring in her face a little. And I like to leave a little outline where the lines are around her face. We call this the glow. And it just makes for a more compelling image. I'm also going to be adding some designs to the side of her face. So I'm just integrating this idea of just do it. If you just have to keep asking, just do it. And so, but depending on the information you got, then you're going to paint around that as you listen. So paint and listen. That's the integration. And once you feel like you've gotten enough integration, then we go into the left, into structure and into spaces and form and order and construction and a little bit more angular, and there's more lines. And let me just say, the left brain and the right brain are both creative. And people think they're either right brain or left brain. It's not true. Everybody is really both. We just strengthen and develop one over the other over time. And so simply by agreeing that you have fuller access, you instantly do, which is pretty astonishing. Just by agreeing. Now I'm going to color in this side, this other color. I've stayed within the same palette the whole time. The sort of blue, cool tones. And now I'm integrating like the left brain. There's good information in structure and how am I going to do that and what's the order and the form. And I don't want to give that any kind of bad rap whatsoever, because it is so important to know how something's going to happen and how to bring it to life and how to create projects and to really shift our life so that our life really reflects the things that are important to us. But what if you brought the ideas into the space of wholeness and flow before you brought them into structure? Then the next place that we work with is the domain of the heart. And you are welcome to, once again, do this as many times as you need to, and maybe do it with some people in your family. Going to bring the heart here. Still is not showing up enough. And it's interesting, as I'm making the shape of the heart, all of a sudden I hear 3 hearts. So you just listen for the information. So I'm going to put 3 hearts. That's obviously connected to the decision that I'm making, the do it already. And then there's the sense of what do the 3 hearts represent. So by going beyond the veil to ask a question, I've gotten some image information. So if there's images that want to come up that just pop in your head, like you just start to make the shape and then all of a sudden you're like, wow, what is that doing there? Go ahead and just trust it. Bring it in. Dots, designs, symbols. Amber, are there any symbols for you that are just kind of asking themselves to be revealed?
I'm still in the structure piece of it, but what came to me was I had a bunch of arrows, and it was something about aligning the energy all in one direction. And so that's kind of like the information that's coming in at the moment.
Right, which is interesting when you think about a change in your business, making sure everything is heading in a particular direction.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, wise muse.
Right. And again, once again, it isn't something outside of you. It's you. But what's happening when you're creating is you're bypassing what we call the dominatrix of the prefrontal cortex, and you're moving into flow state, and creativity takes you into flow state. And then I invite you, actually, I kind of dare you to bring a little bit of the left, the shapes that are on the left, into the shapes that are on the right, and bring a little shapes of the right onto the left. So I'm bringing now circles into the left, representing that both ways of working are relevant, and actually, if they are able to collaborate, holy gamoly, those are going to be some good ideas coming forth. And I brought my circles over to that side, and now I'm going to bring a little bit of structure into this side. And sometimes that means I'm going to have to come over some of my flow. I'm going to have to surrender sometimes some of my great ideas so that I can bring order, which might mean that everything I want to have included doesn't get to be included. Because now that I've brought it into structure, there are some constraints, and constraints are good because they help you design whatever it is that you're creating, but not until you're ready. The other thing I want to show you from a technique perspective is if I already have a background and then I bring a color over the top, I can take the end of my paintbrush and carve in. You can write words, make shapes, whatever you like. And then just continue to play until you feel really complete. That could be as long as you need with this. All right. Ready for the next piece?
Sure. I hear the people going, ah! Just letting you know, it's cool. Take your time.
Okay.
Pause
all right.
if you need. I'm just telling
How much more time do we have?
We're good. We're good. I'm just, oh, am I supposed to be taking track of time?
Somebody has to work around here.
Oh, hold on. Yes. Oh, look, I love my lady. She's going crazy. Look at this. It's like, wow.
That is cool. I have never taught this class before, and I'm really loving this.
I know. It's really interesting because it's like there's part of me that, like, the perfectionist part that's like annoyed that she's got words across her face, but the words across her face are the mystery, right? Which is like we are tattooed with the mystery of life, and there she is.
Yes.
I know.
And
Yeah.
so the next thing, and again, you don't have to do this as quick as I'm doing it. You can come back. I mean, this is like an entire workshop that we're condensing, distilling into an hour. This is an extreme sport right here. Then I'm going to bring some design into the box, because I'm putting earrings. Here's the thing. We do not want to destroy the boxes. In other words, we don't want to destroy the structure. Boxes form actually supports fluidity. It's the river and the edges of the river bank. And so it's not that we want to destroy the box. We actually want the choice to be in the box or out of the box. It's a time of hibernating, whether you're in winter solstice or being on the outside in summer solstice, right? So there's times, it's an ebb and a flow. It's the ocean, it's the moons, it's the in-breath and the out-breath, right? And so we want access to both. We don't want to be totally unhinged to the degree where we don't know how to find form again. We like cozy, we like comfort, we like the blankets and the candles that are inside the house, and then we love being out on the hill and running free. So you have both. So we're not going to destroy her box, right? Because this box now is her own design. So what she's doing then is she's reclaiming the interior that she lives inside of. So before she does that, she can feel trapped by it, by relationship, by the house you're living in, by the job you have, the way you make money, the way you eat, everything. Those are all little boxes, right? And a lot of times we feel smothered by them. So she is reclaiming the space. A lot of times when we wake up and have a breakthrough, we want to bust through everything, break everything down, and even just sometimes destroy it, right? Because we just are so sick of their old way of doing things. But if we can actually choose to work within the framework that we've found ourselves in for a while before we break apart all the structures. So I'm going to identify and honor that there is indeed a structure that she's defining, but now I'm going to add designs to it. I'm making it my own. And then I'm going to blur the edges of the box. Now the box, the container, isn't in control of me. I have room to move. I'm in control of it instead because I define that reality. I'm using designs to set myself free beyond the veil I have moved. No one really knows that box is there except me and you and all thousands of you, moving beyond it. And now what we have is the banks of the river. We have the structure, the form. Without the banks of the river just disperses. And so now we have the box, and the box actually contains and also keeps out, right? So it contains and protects, but it does not dominate when we choose that it doesn't. And so for the final part of this, I invite you to do a free write from her. What is it that she wants you to know that you did not know before? And if you want to continue to work on your being, your muse, you can certainly go ahead and do that. But this free write is really an important part of intentional creativity, which is to receive the message. And so I'm thinking that you're probably going to do that after we're complete. You could spend a whole day on this, huh?
Right?
right?
I love that we just did like a full day workshop and like,
Right?
I don't even know what time it is. So,
we have
totally
left the building. The muse has left the building.
I slacked on the whole paid attention to time. I had one job and I forgot it.
So once you feel like you've played with her and gotten the message from her, you're gonna ask her to write to you. You're gonna write a letter. You know how you wrote a letter to the unknown? You can write a letter to her, or she can write a letter to you. And then I invite you to pick one word, like the core message that she gave you from this entire experience. Like, what is the core message? And to just, in paint, write that somewhere on your painting. Mine is liberation. If you had to distill the whole thing down into one word, what would that word be? And if you want to, sign it. I'm still not done yet. I told you this was like a lifetime of work here that I'm trying to give you in an hour. Next piece of information. This is key. In the world that we're living in right now, there's a lot of chaos, and strengthening ourselves and being resilient is really essential right now. And that is up to you, that you make that choice to be a mighty woman. And you're going to need tools and practices. And that's a lot of what Amber focuses on in her creativity programs, and what I focus on in Color of Women and the Red Thread Guide. Like, we're creating resiliency. We're helping women create businesses and break through blocks and sell their work and get out there, right? We want to be surrounded by and empower women who are doing their work in the world. That means you're going to need practice and tools. And so we're going to now take this process and make it into a powerful tool. Today, you have learned that your right brain and left brain are connected to your heart in a powerful way. You've learned a decision-making tool and how to understand yourself as one who can move out of the box, within the box, and define the parameters in which she's operating. And now you've distilled that into a word. I invite you to assign that word, whatever it is, to your process in life. And when you're confronted with difficult choices, with bad news over the internet, with all the things that are happening, you can call up your one word and activate the entire process for yourself. That you can actually enter into a space of strengthened resiliency in the moment simply by having the word. If you had the word and you also called up the image of your painting, that is powerful enough to actually change your framework. Say something difficult happening in the world and you see the image, and just, whether you want to or not, that image just keeps recurring over and over. That happens a lot when there's tragedies. It just happens over and over. It just replays itself. You can actually place this word and the sound of this word and the image that you've created, whether it's beautiful or looks cray-cray, like just you created it, so you've defined it. You can place that in the center of your consciousness, and it will change the energy and how you relate to the information that's coming towards you. This works. I've worked with tens of thousands of women developing this kind of real resiliency, and I know that it was a quickie in what could be a much longer dialogue, but I really wanted to bring this to you at this time, at the close of this cycle of this year and this life that we've been living in. And we're here to open to a new world, but you get to define that world. You don't just have that world coming to you and reacting. That's the old way. That life gets to be complete if you choose. And now you get to say, I'm not just letting things happening to me, I'm actually happening to the world. So that's it. That's what I got.
Boom. Mic drop. But your mic drop is probably attached somewhere. So
yeah. Boom.
No mic. But all right. My lady says
nice
expansion. So it's
wonderful.
I actually got there was something cool. I mean, it was, I've done this work a million times and it always surprises me. But the message for me to expand, but also I just got the thing about even peripheral vision, which is like it's a Hawaiian, the thing of opening or expansion of hakalau. It's like this whole thing for opening to possibility. And I love that you talked about taking your word and letting that be. It's almost like your mantra, like this is my thing that I'm holding, that when stuff comes, it's like I just have this feeling of not just expansion, but like expansion. And so
love it.
Which is awesome.
Expand and beyond, right? So we've blurred the edges of the framework, but it's still there if we need it. She can actually just go boop and drop back in and then choose to come back out. So it's like about changing the atmosphere of what is, instead of needing everything to change and like the whole world to look different. Changing the atmosphere of what is through practice over time will eventually change the entire atmosphere. And then when you come back out of your box, like if you take responsibility for what's happening inside of your container and you rest into that and do your work, then when you pop back out, you're like, woo, here I am again. Wow. You'll notice that the external world has also shifted with you, but it does take time and it takes practice. And that's why we think of intentional creativity as a practice. And for many of us, it's a sacred practice and a way of life. It's not just a class, right? It's like how we live. So thank you for letting me share this with you.
I love it. I love it. And so ladies, we would love for you to share in the Facebook group, like your pictures, like take a snap, whatever came through. If you feel the bravery for that, the courage, if you feel like, I don't know if I want to do that, you can also share your letter, right, from your muse, like the wisdom that you got, because your wisdom, I've seen it so many times, is wisdom someone else needs to hear. So if you want to share, I would love that. Just a side note about intentional creativity before I pop back over to you, Shiloh, is this work, I've been doing it for a long time, right? And there's so many times there's this conversation about making art for pretty, right? And this work is not that. Yeah, it's about actually getting to know yourself better, getting to tune inwards, to listen deeply, and how fun that we get to do it through something like this, right? Instead of, I don't know, walking on coals, or there are other ways people do it, right? But I'm signing up for the one that has paint. That's the one that I'm signing up for. So thank you, Shiloh, for sharing this. This has been amazing.
You're welcome.
And I know that there's this, there's a way for women who, if they want to just be a part of the community, if they want to get to know intentional creativity more and kind of play in there, what delicious things have you concocted for them?
Yeah, I have a beautiful offering called Messages from the Muse. It's a similar in demonstration, but it's making 2 journal pages. So it's a journal spread where you're going to work with a message of the muse on one side with the writing and then a little face on the other one. I get a little bit more into detail on the face, and it's really just a wonderful process to have in your journal. So Messages from the Muse. It's from a few years ago, but it's a favorite.
Awesome. And so that's perfect. That's something that you can use it, as we're going through, during this retreat, as you're coming to your new year, you might have some questions as far as like, which direction do I want to go? Or, you're just even looking for some more guidance. And this is a perfect way for you to do that. So thank you, Shiloh, for offering that. Link is right here below. So here, my left brain is going like this. And my right brain's going like this.
There you go. Right? Motion and flow, baby.
Motion and flow. Awesome. All righty, ladies. Well, can't wait to see what you've got, and share your stuff in the Facebook group. Shiloh, thank you again so much.
Thank you, Amber. Thank you, everyone. Wonderful to be in continued Red Thread Circle with each of you. Blessings right where you are. And this will continue to expand. Like if you keep working with this and with this image, and you, even when you're going into your dream time, just move that image in front of you like it's like a big visionary screen. It'll continue to inform you because it's actually not it, it's you. Huh, who knew?
Dun, 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 dun. So yes, continue your journey beyond the veil, beyond, the mystery, and I'll be seeing you on our next session.
All right.
everything.
Blessings.